So I went on to LinkedIn. I joined LinkedIn, went on to LinkedIn, whatever, a long time ago because a friend just needed a reference. And the funny thing is, they never even called me anyway. And then I've been dealing with being on LinkedIn ever since then. And I get emails, and then you get job offers. But what the fuck is going on LinkedIn? Oh my god! I've never seen so many people. There's this dogma. There's this dogma. People say this. People say that. People write these long passages of complete shit that anyone in the technology industry knows. We know it's garbage, and they get applause, and we like it, and there's this and that. Now, I certainly don't get any of that. Don't get me wrong, and I never will because of my foul mouth, as you can tell. But it is ridiculous. But I was so happy today. There was this thing, someone from Microsoft, which, is a joke, um, posted a thing about like AI and GitLab. I don't know, GitHub, GitLab, whatever, all this other shit. And they're like, don't be on the wrong side of history. When has Microsoft ever been on the correct side? Now their time? Is now the time that Microsoft is going to be on the correct side of things? Because all signs seem to point to yes. If you shake your magic 8 ball and you look at the stock markets, suddenly it looks like they are competent. But anyway, the point is this. I see so many of that's like thumbs up and hearts and happiness about a lot of these BS posts. And and then but this is the problem that happens with me is I see something I absolutely love on LinkedIn, and then it disappears because it's impossible to find later on because like I'm new to LinkedIn. I don't use the goddamn thing. But I just loved it how there was this one guy who was like just cutting into Microsoft and saying how AI is an absolute disgrace, and he was a technical writer, and he had some interesting points to make. And I don't even care if he's right or if he's wrong. I don't care. But what he had to say was interesting, and he was passionate. And I commented under that. I said, I want to work with this guy. Because that is exactly, I don't want to work with people who are brainwashed. This is the future. This is how everything goes. Everything is now just based on technology that already exists. Like what the hell is the point? It's amazing to me. And I want to say to people, like, we are in this period now where internet and internet-based technologies are all about so much money. And money is important, don't get me wrong. And you need money to start up a business, and you need money to continue with that business and all that. But it's all about money now. Much like it was during the dot-com boom. There was just money. People were throwing money at this, And This is the question I'm kind of throwing out there. Has it finally gotten to the point where the money just wins? Right? And what I'm saying is people threw money at the dot-com companies a long time ago, but those of us that worked in the industry ignored it. We continued on doing what we had to do. We tried to stabilize all kinds of different technologies. And we moved ahead, and that stuff didn't matter to us, right? But big money has been trying to wrap itself around the internet for a very, very long time. And then the question that starts to come out is, have they finally achieved that? Did Amazon achieve this? Has Google achieved this with their cloud services, right? Have they absolutely achieved this now? GitHub, with Microsoft's involvement with AI, has it absolutely gotten to the point now where It is run by big money. And I know a lot of people love big money and they defend big money companies. I don't give a single crap about them because they are not the people I respect. I respect people like Dennis Ritchie and Kernighan, and Linus. There was not giant amounts of money. You have to understand, even with Unix, it was made. Actually, it kind of reminds me of some of the work I've done in the past. It's like I'm just off in the corner. No one's actually asking me to do this, but I'm doing it, right? That's very much how Unix came to be at AT&T. They said they were making a documentation system, but what they were actually building was an operating system. But they didn't have approval to do it. And I think that's how some of the best projects actually come into being. I'm actually shocked now even thinking about this because I'm like, oh my God, this is like bringing back so many horrible memories for me on how I've had to deal with, poor management in some companies that I've worked with, right, who had no belief in anything. But the question becomes, and I'd like to hear people's opinions, have we finally gotten to the point now where everything is owned by big companies and what we think and what we say doesn't matter any longer, and everything now is homogenized? I said in a previous video how everything was being homogenized, and it seemed to be true, and it makes a lot of sense. And I'm not saying that I'm correct and other people are wrong. It makes a lot of sense when I see the things that are being homogenized because, there are so many threats in the world now. Let's even talk about the United States in general, right? Because I worked for an American company. You are under threat all the time. How do you protect yourself, right? It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing at all. So you may have to go into, I'm not even saying necessarily cloud services, but into a de facto standard that everyone just has to live by, right? And it takes away from all the things that, people like myself that grew up in that Wild West. Like, do we want the Wild West? Does anyone really want that? I don't know. But these are my thoughts. These are the things that are going through my mind. But my point is, for a lot of people, this is the thing. If it's over, it's over. So we have to move on. If things are not about creativity anymore, and they are not about, some sense of individualism in what you're doing, it's time to move on. Forget about it. Let the Ivy League guy continue to be spoon-fed with whatever the thing is today that they're supposed to do, right? And we move on. But the question then becomes, what do we move on to? And my thinking is twisting AI into what I want it to be might be the future, right? I don't know, but it's a thought. And I know a lot of people are actually working in AI and being paid for it. But these are the thoughts that kind of go through my mind. Because if the entire internet thing is no longer this thing that is bubbling up based on individuals, like so many millions of individuals bubbling up and becoming something, if that's not happening anymore, if it's a box now, we have to move on to the next thing. We have to find that thing, because we don't live in that world of Ivy League kind of big money. Everyone loved the big money. Don't get me wrong. I never got it, but everyone loved it. And but we do have to think about, well, where are we going now? And it's the big minds. It's not my mind. It's the big minds that have to lead towards where are we going now. And if people have had these conversations, and there are conversations on the internet, and there is this kind of direction about where things are going now, I'd love to see it, because right now I'm not seeing code, and I'm not seeing, well, I'm not seeing everything of the last several decades. I'm not seeing it leading anywhere anymore, right? Except to conformity. That's what it really comes down to. Everything is leading to conformity, and the Ivy League are finally able to say, you know, I can do this now. But I do think, I think that there's a chance that none of this can be tamed. And I'm not talking about like illegal activities, because it's all, who cares? That's all short term for personal interest to make money for themselves. I don't care about any of that garbage. I'm talking about realistically and for society. So yeah, I would be interested to hear people's opinions on this. I don't know, but I'd like to hear what other people have to say. Thanks for watching. Actually, it's the next day. And I just couldn't believe that I made that video, and I was thinking, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. My video is probably garbage. And then here we are, published Friday, February 9th at 8:58 a.m. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman seeks as much as $7 trillion for new AI chip project. $7 trillion. I was saying, is it all going to be owned by the big money now, or is it a giant farce and a giant cash grab that is going on right now? I don't know, because I only do work in my small part of the world. I was talking earlier in this video about AI and how there could be a use for that outside of, well, I know a lot of people are using AI to get to drive a lot of efficiency and to improve a lot of procedures and stuff like that, and to generally make it easier to make money is really, but I think governments can also use AI in order to save money. But the question is, are we going to be saving money on something that needs $7 trillion worth of investment? Let me look up the GDP of Canada. 1.9 trillion USD, right? So they want to take the entire GDP of Canada for a few years to develop a new AI chip. So we're going to be sinking a lot of money into this, and money being poured into things affects everyone, right? I'm not saying the government's pouring the money in. I'm not saying the Canadian GDP is being poured in, but it affects everyone. And so we're really at a huge moment right now. And the reason I say that is that one of the things that is holding the United States up while much of the world is crumbling a bit is that they've had a lot of success with technology. And people used to poo-poo technology, but now we're seeing that these enormous companies that they've created in the United States based on technology are holding that market up for a while anyway. Now there's naysayers that say that this S&P 5000 is a bad sign and not a good one, right? Who knows? I'm not an economist. I just like watching them. But my point is, the big money appears to be here. I was just saying, does it all owned by big money? If you need $7 trillion in order to effectively do something, I don't know if I can say that's actually good. We could use $7 trillion for lots of other things in the world. It's really hard to say where all of this stuff is going to go. So the world is at a huge turning point. We've all known this day is coming. I'm saying that if there is $7 trillion dumped into OpenAI, then that is the sign of the change, and it changes. This is the big change. So the big thing about the internet was that small companies, without too much of an investment, could achieve something that then later on you have all these big capital investors and stuff like that. And it was a really it was a great time for entrepreneurs, and now it's kind of turned sour because the entrepreneurs are building things in many ways that may not even be good for society at all, right? And we don't know with AI, with how it's going to be used, if it's going to be good for society or bad, right? Um, but if it costs $7 trillion to make AI chipsets, that means it's going to be a very expensive endeavor to continue on with, and the electricity alone is just so expensive for AI. It makes you wonder if really this is going to be the playground of the wealthy, and everyone else will be playing just very small bit roles. And entrepreneurs, are they going to be able to, if they have to use AI, and then they have to use the cloud, and all this money is being poured into all of this other stuff, are they going to be able to come out of that with a profit? And more importantly, are they going to build businesses that employ a lot of people? Right? Or is AI going to be powerful enough that they won't actually need to employ people, right? So people will just start making money without an employee base. That's not sustainable. We're seeing that in Canada right now, in the sense that we think that all of our money being poured into real estate is sustainable. It's not, because now that money isn't free anymore, people suddenly can't pay to buy these houses. People can't pay for their mortgages, perhaps, that they need. And people can't afford the rent. And now we're losing a bunch of full-time jobs because the economy is falling apart as a result, right? So it's not sustainable to build a world where it's only the wealthy can survive and you're not hiring people. It's going to be bad for the economy. So anyway, I thought I was done with this video, but then I saw that headline. I was like, oh my God. That's exactly what I'm saying. Let's hope for the best. But I'm not seeing it right now.